in this video we are going to cover lists. So what are lists basically in Kotlin? Okay, so what were arrays? Arrays are mutable, but it cannot take a new entry. Okay, so if there is an array, I defined an array of, let's say, 10 entries. So let's say the entries in an array is 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 respectively, and so what I can do is I can change the value to 15. Okay, but I cannot add a new entry, let's say 11 to at the end. Okay, so the problem of fixed arrays is solved by lists. Okay, so in lists we can add new entries. Okay, so arrays had a problem that mutable, that these are mutable, but not but cannot take a new entry. Now this problem was solved by lists. So now what is a list? A list can store many items of same or the different data types, just like arrays. Okay, so just like arrays. Okay, it can store any items of same or different data types. So there are two types of list. One is mutable and another is immutable. So immutable, as the name suggests, it is for of fixed sized and fixed values. Okay, so and so why do we use immutable list? So we use the immutable list because when we work with a lot of data and by chance some data gets changed by a programmer, and it passes the same program to another programmer, so this whole thing becomes a flaw. Okay, and when we debug that, it would take a lot of time in understanding that where was the root of the problem. So that's why we use immutable list whenever the data is not required to be muted. Okay, because to avoid errors. So the second is mutable list. As the name suggests, the element can be added as well as altered. Okay, so firstly in this video we will cover the immutable list. Okay, so immutable lists are defined using the immutable lists are defined using the list of keyword. Okay, so let's see the syntax. I'll declare a main function, and then inside the main function I'll declare a list. So I can declare it as value or a variable, it doesn't matter, it is an immutable list. So I'll declare it as a variable for now. Now the name of the list. So let's say I'll name it as immutable list 1. Okay, now I'll use the list of data type. Okay, now this inside this greater than and less than sign, I have to mention the data type of the particular list. So and we can skip this also. Okay, if I will not mention this, there is no problem. Okay, so I can mention this hi this is, so I'll mention a character here A. Okay, I'll mention 2 or 3 character here B, and then also some numbers. Okay, so it is an immutable list. Okay, so what happens when I'll do immutable list 1 number 1 is equals to hello. Okay, instead of this I will say 0. So what happens is the parenthesis is in red, it throws an error. So yeah, it makes it red, and when I hover over it, it says unresolved reference, and none of this following candidate is applicable because the receiver type mismatch. Okay, so it basically says that it is an immutable list, so we cannot mutate it. Okay, so this is not possible, not possible. Okay, now there are some basic commands in list, same as the strings or the array. So one is the get index, immutable list one dot get index, sorry, get index. So get in bracket index is 0. Okay, and I'll just print ln this. Okay, and what happens when I print the list also, we can see here. Okay, so when I run this program, we will see that in the first line we have the list, and in the second line we have the at index 0, what we have is. Okay, so we can see here it this is the list, and this is the 0th index. Okay, the another command commonly used is the index of element command. Okay, as you might remember, or if not, I'll explain it. The index of, and then I'll mention a particular element, let's say a. Okay, immutable list dot. Okay, so in immutable list I'll check the index of a. So when I run this program, it will print me that what is the index of this particular element. Okay, so the answer is 3, 0 1 2 3. Okay, the another command is the last index of element. Okay, so when I mention the last index of and then 1, okay, and then run this program, so what it will do is it will mention the index, last index, whenever the 1 is available. So if I mention 1 2 3 1 2 or 3 more times, so it will mention the index of the last one available. Okay, and there is last index, last sublist, size. Okay, there is these many commands. Okay, so 1 or 2 I'll mention, and I'll mention all of them, and I would recommend you to go through the Google and check about all these commands, because as I already mentioned, the Google is best friend of any programmer. So the size, the dot size mentions the size of an list or anything, string or a array. Okay, another is the last index. Okay, so when I mention the last index and I run this program, so it will just mention whatever thing is present at the last index of um, the list or an array. Okay, so immutable lists are generally used to store static information in a program. Okay, as I already mentioned, it is generally used to store static information. Why is it so? Because we cannot change the data. Okay, so that is all for this video. In the next video we will cover the mutable list and some problems or some examples upon that. So stay tuned.